All right, so as promised in my last video, in this specific video here, I'm going to be covering USPs, which just stands for unique selling proposition. I'm going to be breaking down the top 3 mistakes to avoid, top 4 things you should consider when making one, and then just basic checklist for whatever offer you're running, and just kind of going through this entire process here. So without further ado, I'm just going to get straight into what is a USP. So as I've covered before, a USP is a unique selling proposition, and it is the only thing that sets you apart from everyone else. So I see a lot of people oftentimes like overcomplicate this, and a lot of people like get this completely wrong. But it is really simple at the end of the day. It's not about being better than your competition or other people running similar offers. It's literally just about being different. So if your product or service looks like pretty much what everyone else has, people will just lump it into the same category and literally filter it out automatically and just completely ignore it, which I'm going to get into in a second. But that is literally what happens, and this is the case if you get pitches and stuff like that. Like, people just send the same pitch over and over again, and then your brain just begins categorizing it. You're like, oh, that's another one of those people, and you just completely ignore it. So you need a USP, and a USP makes your offer just impossible to lump sum into the same box as your competitors. So this is the reasoning behind why you need it. The human brain is designed to filter things out quickly, and it recognizes, if it recognizes your product as the same old thing, it will instantly categorize it and move on. So that means you don't even get considered, essentially. So everyone who is coming across your pitch or your offer, whatever you want to call it, isn't even considering it. They're just like completely blocking it out. It's just basically noise to them. And a USP prevents that from happening. So it makes your offer stand out long enough to get attention, blah, blah, as I've described before. And standing out is literally step one. It's essentially the hook before you can even persuade someone to buy whatever you are offering. So this is why it is so important to have one and then have it super dialed in as well. So now we're going to get into the power of new. So new is one of the most powerful emotions when it comes to marketing, because people get very excited about new things because it gives them hope. They've never seen it before, and this could be the thing that actually works for them. So hope that this time it could actually work for them. Like, I literally just said that, sorry about that. But this time they'll lose weight, this time they'll make money, this time they'll learn the skill, etc. The spark of hope is dopamine, and it's why new and different is more effective than just claiming to be better than everyone else who is running the same exact thing. Because if someone's better and a person has seen like that offer ran like a million times, they'll literally just ignore it. But if it's different, it's going to open a curiosity loop in your prospect's head, and they literally just can't ignore it. Because it's different. They want to figure out what it is. Like the human brain just hates open loops and just wants to close it. So even if they don't buy, they will figure out everything about it, and they will basically go through all of your content. So now just getting into the top 3 mistakes to kind of avoid when creating a USP for whatever offer you're running. The first one being trying to be better instead of different, which we have covered. But if you look like the same product, people can filter you out. It is as simple as that. So you need a differentiator. Another one is just overcomplicated the message. Like, if it's just too confusing and complex and all over the place, literally no one will care. People will just ignore it, just because they don't feel like putting that much mental effort into figuring it out. And then not making it simple. If someone can't understand it in one line, it literally just won't stick. And this kind of goes hand in hand with overcomplicating the message. They're slightly different, but both of these are very important to consider as well. So you could have a simple message as well, but if it's just too long, you could be overcomplicating it too. So it could be easy to understand, but if it's too long, that would just be categorized as overcomplicating it as well. So it's important to kind of balance these two here. And then another thing that I wanted to mention is some people, from what I've seen, that are selling to kind of more sophisticated, kind of like smarter target audiences. For example, let's say like real estate investors or something like that, where they're super sharp, they're super dialed in with all the terminology and stuff like that. They think that in their messaging, they could use very complex terminology and not make it simple, just because that's how their ICP operates. But that's still not the case, and you will still underperform, because even super smart people still prefer someone to explain it to them in a very simple and easy to understand way that takes the least amount of effort. So that's something I wanted to quickly mention there. That's also super important to consider. And then we're gonna just get right into the 3 parts of a solid USP. So if your USP is really dialed in and it's actually really good, it's going to tick all three of these boxes here. So for one, it's going to look unique, so it doesn't sound like everything else in the market. Even if it is the same thing, you could literally just sometimes invent terminology, as long as it's not too all over the place and actually like quite reasonable. You could literally invent terminology to make it look unique. And then usefulness, so it delivers something people actually want. So this is the case for anything. And then conceptual simplicity, so it's very easy to understand quickly, and there's no need for mental gymnastics or for your ICP to like study way too hard to understand exactly what you are trying to offer them. So these are the three main parts of a USP. And then now we're just going to get into the four main tips to consider when actually making one. So just to get straight into tip one, which we've kind of covered before a little bit, you want to be different and you do not want to be better. So your goal isn't to prove that your product is better in every single facet. That is way too easy for people to ignore. Your goal is to say something that your competitors aren't saying, even if it's the core result. Even if the core result is the same, if you frame it differently or put a spin on it, you automatically stand out, and different is what gets people to stop scrolling and actually pay attention to what you're saying. Tip two, this is kind of a terminology one, but using the word only. So the easiest way to come up with a USP is to stand out with the word only. So an example here is, instead of saying a website with motivational messages, you could say the only website with motivational messages based on, I don't even know how to say this name properly. Should I try it? Confucius. I think that's what it is. Confucius, yeah. And that instantly positions you as unique. So only forces you to carve out a space that no one else owns, and then you could dominate that specific space simply by framing it differently and changing your terminology. And then tip three, use labels. So labels make your USP very sticky and memorable. And if you have a good label, a good label is very simple and easy to say and instantly separates you from competitors. So just another example, you could say modified carbohydrate diet, which kind of never caught on, but when it was rebranded as the South Beach diet, it became a huge success. So labels essentially package your idea in a way that people can remember and talk about. So honestly, what I've seen here is kind of the more kind of like unique and like essentially the more, I don't want to say more random, but that's kind of what it is. Like the more it deviates from like what they normally think about, and the more kind of like out of whack it is, the easier it is for people to actually remember and talk about later on. So that's something to consider there as well. And then tip four, you want to keep it super simple. So USP doesn't need to be very complicated or clever. In fact, some of the best performing ones are often very like straightforward. So sometimes it's literally as simple as just saying, this is the only place where I'll personally give you updates on new opportunities. So don't try too hard, just pick one thing that makes you different and keep it easy to understand. And yeah, it could just be a spin-off of whatever you're doing now, but this small tweak here, you're gonna notice your conversion rates go a lot higher, retention rates, like people are gonna be super interested in what you're doing. So it's definitely something to test and kind of like play with, but once you get it right, you're gonna notice you got it right. And yeah, just a quick checklist for when you are making your own. You want to ask yourself, does this make me different, not just better? So this is something we've covered many times. It doesn't matter if you're better necessarily. You could be the best or one of the best in the world, and people could still ignore you just because they've seen it so much times and they're completely pissed off by it. But as soon as it's different and there's a completely different like frame and spin on it, it's very hard to ignore them. And then obviously, can I phrase it with only? So just see if you could find a way to do that. This one is kind of like more difficult to do just because there's so much stuff that has been done, I guess, up until today, and the market is very sophisticated. But if you could find a way to do this, then this is really good as well. And then, do I have a label that makes it stick? So find some kind of a label that you could package on the front that makes it hard to forget, and then literally it just sticks in their head. That's literally all there is to this one. And then, is it actually useful to people? This is also something to consider. So whatever you're selling actually needs to be useful to people. This is probably the most important thing out of everything I've discussed. And can someone understand it in one quick line? And if you have all of these dialed in and you are avoiding the three mistakes I covered here and then following all of these tips, as long as you have a general idea of what makes a good USP, you're going to be completely fine. So hopefully this video kind of helped you guys understand the concept of a USP a little bit more, and hopefully it cleared up some of the confusions. And yeah, it's not as complicated as everyone thinks.